Hello. I thought today I would take a look back at my reading list for 2024. The 24 books that I wanted to read this year and just see how I did. Did I read them? Did I not read them? Here we go. Let's just get into it.
Today I wanted to talk about my 2023 reading stats, and I also wanted to go over 24 books that I would like to get to in 2024.
I think we can skip the reading stats.
I read a total of 4 books that I want to read in 2024. I've broken them up into science fiction, fantasy, literary fiction or historical fiction, and then horror and thriller. There are 7 in the science fiction category.
Blah, blah, blah.
11 in fantasy.
Man, I'm talking
category.
a lot.
There are 4
Let's
in
get
the
to the
literary
books.
fiction or historical fiction, and there are 2 in the horror and Caliban's War by James S.A. Corey.
I did not read Caliban's War. It's actually on my to read in 2025 list.
Reading the first book,
Not off to a great start.
in January, and I really enjoyed it, although I made the mistake of starting the series first on TV, which generally speaking, I don't enjoy reading a book after I've already seen the show or the movie. So
It's true.
I didn't finish the first season as far as I made it because I decided that I really wanted to read the series, and so I stopped watching it. And so I did like that book. I thought it was fun, it was good. And so I'm excited to get to this one because I've heard a lot of good things on BookTube regarding the series as a whole. So this is one of my top priorities.
Priorities.
Next I have Kingdoms of Death by Christopher Rocchio.
Absolutely
And
did read
if
Kingdoms
you know
of
me,
Death.
you know that I love the Sun Eater series. And so this is a continuation. This is book 4 in the series. And I am super excited to get to this one. This is definitely, again, a top priority.
And it was fantastic.
Next we have book 5 in the Sun Eater series. This is Ashes of Man.
I read Ashes of Man.
And I have actually pre-ordered the 6th book, Disquiet Gods. I believe I got the trade paperback edition that comes out in April.
I did not.
It could be the hardback. Not sure.
It's the hardback.
Stay tuned. Then we have another book that I recently spoke about in my Christmas book haul. This is Ascension by Nicholas
I did not read this one, and this one is on my 25 to read in 2025 list.
Two Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer. I believe this is also the first book in this
I did not
series
read this one.
that I've heard good things about. The Abyss Beyond Dreams by Peter F. Hamilton.
I did read this
is also
one.
the first book in
I think I
series.
gave it 3 stars.
Chronicle of
It was
the
pretty
Fall
good.
is book 1. Peter F. Hamilton, from my understanding, is one of those classic sci-fi authors that everybody should read, and this will be my first by him. I did just receive this, so this will also be showing up on a book haul coming soon. I also pre-ordered The Mercy of Gods, which is a new series by James S.A. Corey that comes out this year.
Did not read that one yet.
It's called
Actually, I started it,
Practice
and
Lord.
it was kind of in my slumpy era, and I didn't love it, so I set it aside.
Deathless Beast by Andrew D. Meredith.
Have not
I
read
bought
this one.
book last year. It's been sitting on my TBR pile, and I just have yet to pick it up, but I've heard that it is a great book.
Still one that I would like to get to
Volume 1 of the
at some
Collation
point.
Saga Collation. Epic Fantasy Series. And this chunky one,
Yeah.
A Day of
I
Fallen
did
Nights
read this
by
one.
Samantha Shannon.
It was a 5-star read for
I've
me.
not read Priory of the Orange Tree, although I've heard that you don't need to read that to read and enjoy this. And I've heard this one is actually better than the Priory of the Orange Tree. So I think that I may read this without reading the first book.
I did. I did not read the
I would
first
like to
book.
know if you disagree, if you think I need to read Priory of the Orange Tree before reading this, please let me know. The First Binding by R.R. Veery.
I have not read this one, and
This is
I do still really want to read this
chunky
one.
book. And
I might have to move that one
understand
up the
book 2
list.
comes out this year. I've heard R.R. Verity talk several times about his study in the monomyth, and I've heard this compared to The Name of the Wind, which I
Frame
adored.
narrative.
And I know people give Patrick Rothfuss a lot of crap in for some of his stories and for not publishing his third book in the series, but I think his writing is fantastic. I loved it, and so if this is anything like that, then I'm sure that I will love this just as much, if not more. The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. This is book 1.
Not read this one either. And I actually own the entire series now, or I think, or at least 4 books out of the series.
Because I haven't read this yet.
I hauled, so I definitely need to get to those at some point as well.
Gorgeous maps inside. I love a good map.
I do love a good map.
Jade City by Fonda Lee. I'm sure you all. This book needs no introduction.
Have not read it.
I'm sure everyone is.
I even hauled the Broken Binding editions.
I have not read it yet.
That's a darn shame.
I plan to pick it up this year. Memories of Ice by Steven Erikson. This is book 3.
Did not read it. This one is also on my list for 2025.
Last year, I loved book 1. I didn't love book 2.
True.
I am not a huge fan of battle scenes and war. I don't like it when it takes over the story, when that's really all that is there. I'm more interested in the characters and the relationships and the background plots, political intrigue. That book had that. I felt like it was much more action, battles, craziness. There are a few books that I don't have the physical copies of. One of them is The Book That Broke the World by Mark Lawrence, which is not out
Do you
yet,
see
but I
a pattern here? This is also on my list to read in 2025 because I did not read it this year.
It. So it was a no-brainer that I was going to pre-order this one to have and probably read as soon as it gets here. Also, The Mask of Mirrors, which I have on...
Did not read this one either.
I've heard that this book is a little bit of a doozy to get into, that it can be confusing, but that it is worth the payoff in the end.
Broken Binding is coming out with editions of them this year.
By T. Kingfisher.
Did not read Nettle and
I have
Bone.
not read any of T. Kingfisher's books yet. This will be my first, but I have heard also, again, many good things about this story. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, which is
I read this one.
Pre-order. It comes out.
I actually put this book on my most disappointing reads of 2024, sadly.
Could be wrong about that as well, but I have
like I mentioned in that video, I enjoy Leigh Bardugo's writing in general, but this one just did not do it for me.
Projections by S.E. Porter.
Projections, I did not read that one.
That this is it has to do with magicians, magic. Not sure, but it looked great. Next, we're going to move on to the literary fiction and historical fiction genre. I put this book in this genre, and I'm actually not sure if this is fantasy or historical fiction, but it's Between Two Fires.
I did not read this one. I really want to read it.
It is about a knight.
It's one of those books that continuously pops up in my Instagram feed, and people overwhelmingly love this book.
I've heard really good things about this one as well. The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese.
I did not read this one either.
Club picks. And between all of my sci-fi and fantasy, I occasionally like to break it up with a little bit of historical fiction or literary fiction. Just, kind of cleansing.
I think this one has magical
And
realism.
so, while this is a really big book, I do enjoy that in those types of books because I like a lot of character development and I do prefer character-driven stories, and I definitely feel that you get that a lot of times in these big, chunky literary books. Sure that that same thing will go for this next book. That is Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. And I previously read Pillars of
I
the
did read
Earth
this one.
many years ago, probably 10 years ago now, but I really did like it. I thought that his attention to detail, his character development, the historical
It's very
aspects,
true.
they were all intricate and developed, and he just does his research and he really pulls all the pieces together and just pulls you into
He
the
does.
story. Can't help
Although I
but
didn't
feel
love
all
this one
the
as much as I loved Pillar of
emotions
the Earth.
he intends for
This
you
is
to feel.
definitely World
This
War
is
II setting.
a, just like Fall
I
of
did read
Giants, this
Labyrinth.
is a World War II setting.
I heard
Historical
Labyrinth
fiction.
compared to
I believe there is
Outlander,
some romance
and
in
while
this one,
I
but there is
can
also mysterious
see those
archaeological finds
ties,
and
it was nowhere near as good.
strange symbols hidden within a labyrinth.
I think I gave it
So
3
has a little bit of
stars,
intrigue,
3.5.
mystery, fun, love, all the good stuff. It's a chunky one too. If you can't see the trend, I like a chunky book. And then finally, the thriller and
Size
horror
matters.
section. I have Legion by William Peter Blatty. He's the author of The Exorcist, which
I've not read Legion
last
yet.
year.
Oy.
It gave me
I wonder what the
such
score is right now.
anxiety knowing that
We'll know.
as a kid I was tormented by the movie. I never thought that I would actually read the book, but I did. So I originally thought this was the follow-up to that, but no, this is separate.
Actually, it is the follow-up, I believe.
It does have mock crucifixion, some religious aspects, possession, things of that nature.
Sit down.
If it's half as good as The Exorcist, I will love it. And last, I have The Haunting of Maddie Clare by Simone St. James.
I did read
this
this
one
one.
on Kindle. I've read quite a few of Simone St. James's other books and really love them all. She really does a great job writing mystery and spooky all in one. Spooky aspects usually end up just being a part of the mystery, but she can write a good thriller. I definitely recommend
She does. I didn't love this one as much.
Read, but also one with great characters and unique settings and
definitely one of my least favorite of hers.
That wraps it up. Those are the 24 books that I hope to get to this year.
So I would say overall, I didn't do so great, but not as bad as I thought. So the count will be up here. I will have to add some of these to my TBR again, although this year I'm really focusing on reading my shelves instead of buying new books. So there will be less book hauls this year and more what I read on my TBR shelves. I am going to do a challenge for myself with little prompts, like a scorecard, just that I can check off one for each month. I will try to put that up here, and I'll also put it in my Instagram if you want to follow along or use any of these prompts for yourself. I'm sure that many of you have your own massive TBR bookshelves that you want to get through. So maybe 2025 is the year of the TBR pile. Christmas is coming. I'm sure there will be books hauled. So that's going to do it, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little flashback down memory lane. It was fun. I will see you in the next one. Bye.